Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pizzapia. That, of course, is Dan Harris, and it's you. And today we got another mock draft episode for you. Last week we had Jeff Ratcliffe on for a little Superflex action. Today we're back into the half-point PPR. No Superflex, just one quarterback league for you. Get your mock draft on with us, too, and you might say, this mock draft stuff looks really fun. I want to have some fun. I want to draft with Dan Harris or Joe Pizzapia. Well, all you got to do is go to fantasypros.com/draftwizard, and you can go and look at the draft wizard yourself, or you could go join our Discord chat and actually get in a live draft with us. They're happening all the time in our mock draft channel. That's at fantasypros.com/chat. It's free to join. It's easy. It's fun. It's a good time. And for those wondering, hey, where's Tags been? Is he okay? Tags is doing okay. He's been sick for about a week or so. He is on the mend, getting better every day. He will be back, and he appreciates all the good messages and all the Twitter love and everything that everyone's been giving him. In the meantime, I figured what's the best thing to do when you don't have Tags is give everybody a little bit more Dan Harris. Dan Harris, shaking the dust off a little bit of all the baseball we do together every day, back into the football world. How you feeling, buddy?
I'm feeling like a pretty poor substitute if people were waiting for Tags and this is what they get, but I will do my best. It is I'm very happy to be here, okay? Like, I love baseball, of course, but we're moving into football season. I've been mocking pretty much every night with our crew in Discord, again, fantasypros.com/chat if you want to get in on. So I'm ready for this. I'm ready to go. I'm hopeful to not embarrass myself.
Well, hopefully not, because today's a special event. It's actually the birthday of our guest today. That's right. You've known him over the years from his work on NFL Network and probably now from his work over at Sports Illustrated. He's also on Sirius XM Radio on the Fantasy Channel all the time, talking football. Of course, you probably know him from the Twitter machine at Michael_Fabiano. It's the one, the only Michael Fabiano. Happy birthday, buddy. It's nice to have you here today.
Thanks, pal. 48, man. 2 more years. And then that's the end, right? Is that the last significant birthday you'll have?
I don't know. Ask Dan Harris. He's pretty old.
Before you end up, in the ground. I mean, like, what's next after 50? Like 75? I don't even know.
my 75th was pretty wild. I had that. Like, when you hit like the 90 though is where I really like threw it out. Okay, that's where it's going. If I reach 100, then I'm gonna go crazy. But for me, really 90 is where it's at, Fab. So you got plenty of time.
Well, look, what a wonderful guy to say, yeah, I'll still do a mock draft episode with you, even though it's his birthday. In fact, when I brought up your Twitter profile today, all those little balloons came up, and I went, that's right, I forgot. Yeah. So we appreciate it. You're giving us a gift today, and all the Fantasy Pros listeners and watchers here just hanging out. And again, I want to ask you, how's it been over at Sirius XM? I know you got the show going over there now and Sports Illustrated, so you are rocking and rolling as always this football season. How's life treating you these days?
Yeah, it's good. It's been busy. Writing 4 or 5 columns a week over at SI, doing some video stuff with Billy Enright, and Sirius XM 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 Eastern. Lindsey Rhodes is a new co-host on the program. Amber Theo Harris will be joining the program starting, I believe, next week. Bob Harris, Mike Dempsey also will be involved as well. So a lot going on. I got a lot of travel. I'm actually going to Dallas on Thursday to meet up with Bob Harris, and then we're flying to Canton for the Kings Classic.
Very cool.
Pro Football Hall of Fame. So, yeah, very busy time of the year. We all have a million drafts going on, too. So, but it's fun. Can't complain.
That's right. Well, you can, but who's going to listen? Nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody's going to listen.
You'll end up like Carl in Curb and end up in a pine box and have Larry David hitting on your wife 2 minutes after you pass. Yes.
Well, look, one of the things I'm going to say, there's a lot of things I respect about you. Obviously, your years in the industry, but you also respect wood, which is also something that's very important.
I do respect wood, yes.
Dan Harris, you want to chime in here with a Curb Your Enthusiasm reference?
No, I'm fine. You guys lead the way with Curb Your Enthusiasm. By the way, this was before we started recording.
Don't be a schmohawk. Let's go. Get in there.
Oh my gosh. Before we started recording, I set the over-under at 47.5 Curb Your Enthusiasm references, so we're already on track to go over.
Today, we're going to be doing a half-point PPR mock. It's going to be a great time. Of course, we're using our multi-user draft software, which you can go and hang out with your friends and draft at fantasypros.com/draftwizard. It is fun. It's realistic. We talk about all the time. We just did a live stream a couple weeks ago. We saw how difficult it was. The 4 of us were doing a mock there together, and it is a challenge, and that's what you want, so that when you go and you do the real thing on draft days, you are ready and prepared. And we're all about preparing you here at Fantasy Pros for your drafts coming up. Also, don't forget, if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel Fantasy Pros, youtube.com/Fantasy Pros. Why? Obviously, the great content. Obviously, every podcast is on the video side as well. Today's show, you can watch the draft board live and see everything going on. But also because next week on Thursday, August 19th, we got the Fantasy Football Fest. 12 hours from 10 a.m. Eastern in the morning to 10 p.m. Eastern at night. We are going to be talking football. It's going to be miraculous. I'm going to do 11 of the 12. I think Dan's doing 1 hour. Dan, we got a star-studded guest. I don't know if Larry David is going to come on or not. We haven't confirmed. But, Dan, how's it going there? Because we've got like a murderer's row of who's who in fantasy football that day.
Yeah, you'll hear way more about this as we get closer to the event. But, yeah, look, last year we did it. I think we only did 12 to 10. We bumped it an extra 2 hours right now since I basically get to take the whole time off because Joey P doesn't sleep, so he's going to be on there the whole time, thankfully. But we are going to have a who's who of guests throughout the industry, touching on basically everything that you could possibly want to prepare you for your draft. So everybody tune in, youtube.com/fantasypros, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Thursday the 19th. It's going to be a blast.
All right, so subscribe and, again, click that notifications button. That way you get a reminder because life gets busy and you don't want the drafts to pass you by. So, Fabs, Harris, you guys ready for a little mock-in draft action here? Because I'm ready.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm at the 1 pick. Somehow that happened. I never get the 1 pick. Now I sound like Yates. I never get the 1. Yes, today I got the 1. And you know what? Ooh, I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah, I'm going to take Christian McCaffrey when it comes up to my time. The 9th pick, however, falls to our own Dan Harris, and then back-to-back birthday boy Michael Fabiano at 10. So we'll see if there's any sniping going on. We'll see how that all works out. Again, this is our multi-user draft software. Go to fantasypros.com/draftwizard and run your mock drafts. What, 15 million, I think, Dan Harris, right?
Yeah.
Mock drafts being run this year. That's just absolutely stunning. And 14 million of them are Dan Harris. All right, let's kick things off here. Christian McCaffrey goes to me at the 1. Finally, I got a 1 pick. Anyway, after that, it's the usual suspects. You did get Saquon Barkley going 5th overall in this one. Sometimes he's dropped in some of these. Aaron Jones, Ezekiel Elliott, Jonathan Taylor, Dan Harris, you are on the clock for 109.
As isn't all running backs so far. The fact that Taylor went at 8 makes this a little easier for me. I would consider Devontae Adams, but instead I'm going to go with Chubb, who, again, is just the guy. Joe, you've talked about him all basically draft season. This guy I love. I'm more than happy to get him as my RB1. I have him ahead of Taylor, so I'm very happy to land him as my RB1. Although I did consider Devontae Adams, I'm curious to see what Fabs is going to do here.
Hashtag Chubb Club. That's right. You're either a member or you're against us. There's no in between. All right, Chubb is now off the board, and a lot of running backs did go here. You've got the board, Fabs, with Kelsey, Hill, Devontae Adams. You've also got some running backs like Eckler out there. So which way are you going to go for your first pick?
I've got Adams as my highest ranked player still on the board. I can't do it. I can't take a wide receiver in the first round. I can't. I can't do it. I'm not doing it. I'm going with Austin Eckler. I just feel like with the way that they're going to utilize him in that offense, as long as he avoids injuries, he's going to be good to go. He's going to put up some great numbers. And looking at what the Draft Wizard has just produced, past my pick at Eckler, Adams, Kelsey, Diggs, Hill, so we've got a run on receivers. That makes me very happy because that leaves my number 11 running back still on the board. He's a rookie. We saw him a little bit in the Hall of Fame game. If I can start every draft with Eckler and Najee Harris, giddy up, as Kramer would say.
Well, this is beautiful because I'm usually down there and I usually don't let Najee Harris float past me, and Tags gets very mad at me, which is great. Don't worry, that's not what makes him sick. It's other things. But look, I'm with you, and it's so interesting to see you, myself, Tags, so many people come in here and say the same things about Najee Harris.
That's not good. It's bad. It's not good. That
no,
means
it is good
because we're going to curse him.
No, we're not going to curse him. It's going to be fine. It's going to be beautiful. But the whole point is, when all these people are telling you it's okay and it's not a reach to go there and grab him, especially because of the drop-off, everybody should be paying attention to that, because that means a lot of people who do a lot of great work are all seeing the same thing, which is the potential, the upside, the floor, the ceiling, all of the above, especially in that pool. Dan Harris, you're back in the pool. Do you have your swimmies on for your second pick at 204?
I do, and I would have taken Harris because was the next highest running back.
He is also your cousin.
Beware shrinkage. When
Yeah.
you're in the pool.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing.
Just gonna keep track of the number. Okay, so I can go running back here. I'm fine with Joe Mixon, who's the next running back off my board. But I am going to go receiver, and I'm going to see how this looks. I still think there will be something there, and I'm going to go with Calvin Ridley, who I absolutely love this year. He's still my fourth on the board, so I'm fine with the fact that Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, and Stephon Diggs went before him. But Ridley's going to be an absolute monster without Julio Jones there. I'm very excited to land him. And again, I'm probably going to feel uncomfortable here as we get back to the third round and I see more running backs go, but I'm willing to risk it to get a guy like Ridley on my team.
Not you. Not uncomfortable. That
It's
sounds
true.
so unlike
My entire life is uncomfortable.
Patrick Mahomes going in the second round. They don't see that all the time here. Justin Jefferson, Allen Robinson before it comes back to me for 2 picks. I'm very excited because one of my favorite wide receivers still on the board, and it's A.J. Brown. That is an easy pick, locking that in. Now the question is, do I want to go the other way with the tight end and Darren Waller, or do I want to get another running back? As Fabs was talking about before, running back is a cliff, and I don't want to fall off of it. I don't want to be at the bottom. J.K. Dobbins, Chris Carson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, all out there. I've already gone big time with the PPR back, so I kind of want to go with the guy that I think it's going to be a lot of touchdowns, and I think I'm going to go with J.K. Dobbins here over Helaire. They're very close for me. I've had a lot of Helaire in these drafts. Let's see a little J.K. Dobbins action. Let's do a little something different here. Then you have Josh Allen, Josh Jacobs, someone not named Josh, Terry McLaurin going off at 3.8. Dan Harris, you are now up at 3.09.
Yeah, I'm in an interesting spot right now just because you look at teams 11 and 12 and you don't know exactly what they're going to want to do necessarily because people have all sorts of different draft strategies. But both of them, team 11 went wide receiver. Team 12 went tight end wide receiver. So it seems like they're probably going to go running back, and I kind of don't really want to be left out in the cold necessarily. So I'm going to go with the pick that I'm not over the moon about, but it's fine as my RB2. And that is Chris Carson, who's just going to sort of solidify that spot for me. You know that he's got probably one more year left in the tank at least. And yeah, I'll probably have to find a running back to fill in 2 or 3 games during the year, but he's fine as my RB2 right now, and I am terrified of what it's going to look like after the turn.
I like Chris Carson. I mean, I understand. I understand you're worried about his durability a little bit, but listen, Rashad Penny. I mean, what has he done in the league? I mean, nothing, right? Mm-hmm. Carlos Hyde is no longer there. They're going to have to run the ball. Have you seen this guy? I mean, he's built like a brick S house.
I think the biggest thing that people forget about Carson is that when he's on the field, he is almost as talented a running back as anybody is out there. Just watch some highlight clips of the guy. So I love him. I love getting him, but the chances of him playing 16 games, Fabs, are probably pretty minimal at this point, don't you think?
Oh, I guess, yeah, Fabs, you're
Give
on the
me
clock.
14 or 15. I am going to go with a homer pick.
Okay.
And his name is CeeDee Lamb, because I know he will not be there when I come back around. I dig him the most. I love him. I was at Cowboys camp last week. He's bananas good. I think he's going to put up a massive season. So CeeDee Lamb off the board for me, and then Chris Godwin comes off. DeAndre Swift, who, I mean, that's a guy I don't want to touch. And now you got the news about the groin. Let's see if Pisapia can get this reference. Groin injury.
Of course.
If you can't get a Cheers reference, you're not supposed to be on this podcast.
I was supposed to say it? All right, fine.
Well done. So now I've got to draft another wide receiver to go along with my strategy. I do not want Amari Cooper here because I don't want both Cowboys wide receivers as much as I love the Cowboys. So I'm going to go here with Tyler Lockett, who, if the Seahawks let Russ cook, should have another big season. Very inconsistent last year, but still a top 10 fantasy wide receiver when all was said and done.
Dan Harris, I have a question for you. If you had to do it all again, would you have taken CeeDee Lamb and then taken David Montgomery, Mike Davis? Do you see a difference in Chris Carson to Montgomery, Davis? Probably, even Travis Etienne. We want to have that conversation. I know he's still young, but do you see like that much of a difference between Carson and the other guys?
Well, I will say that Lamb would have been the pick, absolutely, if I was going to go wide receiver. So I commend Fabs, which is a great start for Fabs with the 2 running backs, and then to get CeeDee Lamb as his wide receiver 1. I don't have a huge sort of feeling about it, Chris Carson or the wide receiver who I'm going to take, who is a currently banged up, I'm just going to assume he's going to be healthy by the time he gets to the season, Julio Jones. The Chris Carson, Julio Jones versus CeeDee Lamb and David Montgomery. Probably CeeDee Lamb and David Montgomery, I guess, but I do think, I mean, Fabs mentioned it, like, Chris Carson's really just an underrated back. If not for the health, I do have him as a little bit of a tier. There's a tier break for me ahead of David Montgomery. So I'm fine either way, but I mean, I guess CeeDee Lamb is just, I don't know where his ADP is going to end up by the time draft season comes because he's just been a monster riser and it's deserved. So not a big difference for me. I'm fine either way.
What's so great here about the Draft Wizard too, I get the pick insights right now. It says 8 teams need a starting quarterback before my next pick, so I know that. 7 teams need a tight end before my next pick. And also there's one QB left in the tier, which is Kyler Murray, which is a great insight because I was looking at running backs and wide receivers and, oh my goodness, Kyler Murray's still on the board here. That's definitely in a tier unto himself, in my opinion. So I will go ahead and take Kyler Murray, even though sometimes I like to wait for quarterback. I'm going to keep going BPA here, and I'm going to go take another running back. I like the wide receivers here, but the problem is now we're starting to get into that clump. And I also love the CeeDee Lamb ADP, how that's risen so much. We started doing mocks about a month and change ago, and he was a value, right? 4th round fit. Now it's like 3rd round. You're lucky if you get him there. I'm going to go ahead and take my boy Travis Etienne as my 3rd running back there. So Kyler Murray and Etienne for me at the turn. Continuing on, Juju Smith-Schuster, Kyle Pitts, Dan Harris, 509. You are up.
Yeah, there was a nice little wide receiver run there if you're watching on youtube.com/FantasyPros. After Joe's pick, it went DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, and Juju Smith-Schuster before Pitts went. So, I mean, I was probably leaning towards taking a wide receiver, but I am going to take a running back here. And I don't really think I'm all in on the Falcons this year, but I guess for this draft, I'm going to be. Now, I'm using my own cheat sheet, which I created. Again, you can do that at FantasyPros, which has basically my own rankings in it, so I know exactly where I stand. I'm going to go with Mike Davis, who's a guy, again, there's really nobody behind him. I mean, I know people are trying to get excited about Kadri Allison, but I am not. And at least for the early part of the season, I think Mike Davis is going to be a huge value in fantasy drafts. So I'll get my 3 running backs. I have my 2 wide receivers. I'm feeling okay about this so far, not like overwhelmed, but I definitely feel I'm happy to lock in Davis at that pick.
All right, that puts you now on the clock, Fabs. You got your running backs, you got some wide receivers, so where are you going next?
I am looking for the search feature on here because was Darrell Henderson drafted yet?
He was
yes.
drafted right before your last pick. It's up on top, by the way, search players. It's up on top.
So now I'm looking at best available running back, and a lot of the running backs have been taken off the board. So I might have to go ahead and audible here because I have another pick coming up. But the wide receivers, I mean, the guys that are out there right now, it's not like there are any potential superstars. Kenny Galladay scares me. I like T. Higgins, but obviously the target share is going to be affected with Chase in the mix. So for me, based on what's available right now, I'll wait on running back until my next pick, and I'm going to go with, let's see.
You have 10 seconds there.
All right, I'm going to go with Brandon Ayuk.
Brandon Ayuk, very nice pick there. Chase, by the way, goes ahead of T. Higgins in this particular draft. We're keeping track of that and how often that happens and who's ahead of whom, if that is the proper nomenclature, dude. Now it's back after Kenny Galladay goes, Melvin Gordon goes. Fabiano, you are back on the clock for 6:03.
And I'll take Kareem Hunt here to be my 3rd running back. I think that's a perfect spot for him. He was the RB10 last year. Like, people forget. He was the 10th best running back in fantasy football. Yes, there was a 5-game stretch there without Nick Chubb. But if you guys remember correctly, during those games, like, Kareem Hunt had a few stinkers where we all thought he was going to put up massive numbers and he didn't. So in an offense under Kevin Stefanski that's going to run the ball a lot and give both of those backs a lot of opportunities, I think Kareem Hunt as my RB3 works out pretty well.
All right, there you have it. So Kareem Hunt ends up on Fab's roster. Dan Harris, you are up next.
So I'm torn here. I think I know which way I'm going to go. Obviously, I have 3 running backs, so if you'll find it's a 3 wide receiver league, as we mentioned. So I'm looking at a wide receiver, and I think that's probably where I'm going to go over a tight end like TJ Hawkinson, who is kind of the last guy I feel like that you can take without totally just punting and waiting on the position. I am going to go with a wide receiver here. and it's Odell Beckham Jr., a guy who I basically faded, certainly faded last year. And even though he got injured, although that's one of the reasons, it kind of showed why last year, because again, the Browns are just going to run the ball, as Fabs just mentioned with Kareem Hunt. Obviously, the target share, he saw 10 targets per game in his career before he got here. He's probably going to see more like 7. But still, if he's healthy, he's immensely talented. As my wide receiver 3 now, as opposed to a strong wide receiver 2 like you needed to draft him last year, I'm fine with it at this spot. So I'll take him at the 604 pick.
Gentlemen, anyone can be confident with a full head of hair, but a confident bald man, that's your diamond in the rough. All right? That's your diamond in the rough. And I'm a confident bald man because 2 of the wide receivers I absolutely love are still on the board. Yesterday, we had Adam Ornis on the show, and we were talking about our mid-round values, and we were talking about Robbie Anderson, a guy who got a ton of targets, a guy who is now back with Sam Darnold, who actually had a pretty good rapport with him and a great offense in terms of play calling. And I'll deal with Robbie Anderson. He got a ton of targets last year. Hopefully there's upside for more touchdowns. And my other guy that I'm very confident is Jerry Jeudy. Ronis and I had 2 players that overlapped. It was Anderson. It was Jeudy. I'm going to take them both here. This is going to be my upside wide receiving core, and I love it already. I've got A.J. Brown, the true one. I will find some other guys in here. I was contemplating Antonio Brown in this mix too, but you know what? I'm going to go with Jerry Jeudy, who I think has the opportunity to be a star. Yes, the drops are a problem, but as I mentioned on yesterday's show, there's been plenty of great players in the NFL who have struggled early on in their career with drops. I mentioned Tony Gonzalez. I mentioned Jerry Rice. There's a bunch of them well documented. I'm not saying he's going to be a Hall of Famer, Jerry Jeudy, but I'm saying the talent is certainly there for him to be a very good investment as a wide receiver 3. So that's my take. I got my 2 wide receivers. I dared the board by taking Travis Etienne, and I won. So 709, Dan Harris, how do you feel now that Williams, Herbert, and Michael Thomas go off the board right before you?
I don't really care that. Certainly not about Michael Thomas, who everybody I'm probably going to be the lowest on him in the industry just with the way I treat injuries. Williams would have been a decent pick. I feel like here. I'm going to do something that I don't love, and you know it's always a great pick when you do something. You preface it with being like, I don't really like what I'm going for right here.
So let's go for it.
I'm going to go with Rodgers, and it feels a little, or there's been a little bit more of a run on QB, so ordinarily I would just punt it entirely, but I do have Rodgers kind of in a tier, left over now that Herbert's gone, when you drop down to the next guys, whether it's Hurts or Brady or whatever you want to do. I do think Rodgers, still has plenty left in the tank. Might be his last year. Either way, he always wants to prove himself. We saw what he can still do. So I'm going to take him. I didn't love any of the other options that I was looking at right now. So I feel like when you don't love another option, that's when you kind of rotate and hit a QB. So I'll take
funny.
Rodgers.
That's exactly how I got hired by Dan here at Fantasy
That's
Pros.
100%
didn't like
correct.
any other options, and here I am.
Scoured the market.
Scoured the market. Didn't find anything.
Nothing.
Settled on Joe Pisapia. All right, Fabs, you are up next, 7-10. Rodgers is gone. The next quarterbacks left are Tannehill, Tom Brady, Jalen Hurts, or maybe there's something else that tickles your fancy.
Yeah, I have 2 players in mind, and because one position has got a whole bunch of guys that are very similar in value, I'm going to go with Chase Edmonds here.
Yep.
As my running back 4, he is typically going to be a running back 3 in drafts. I like the upside, not in love with the potential of a backfield committee and the fact that he's never had more than 100 carries in a season. But we've heard all the right things. It's an offense that runs a lot of plays, is going to score a lot of points. And again, as an RB4, I will gladly take that. Now I see a couple of quarterbacks come off the board. Right. That does not change my mind when I'm making this next selection, though. And I've been getting a ton of this guy. And it's Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert is going to get targeted a ton from Jalen Hurts. He may be the most targeted player on that team. I don't know if Zach Ertz will be on the team or not in week 1. And even if he is, I don't know how much of a role he'll play. I'm sure the Eagles will continue to look to move him. But as much as we like Devontae Smith, he's a rookie. Jalen Reagor, I'm not hearing good things about him, and he wasn't great as a rookie. What else do they have? I think Goddard's going to get a ton of targets, and as my tight end 1 in the 8th round, I will take that.
All right. There was a report today that apparently Ertz and Goddard were the favorite targets of Jalen Hurts. Is there enough to go around with the 2 of them because you don't like Jalen Reagor and maybe Devontae Smith is the only real wide receiver of note in that offense?
Yeah, I think there is. But I don't think Ertz is going to be with the team the whole year.
Okay, that's fair enough.
and maybe I'm going to be wrong on that, but like their number one wide receiver is a rookie. Okay, he's a Heisman guy, but he's a rookie. Their number two is a guy they drafted last year with high hopes, and he did nothing, and we're not hearing good reports. And then past that, what is there?
Exactly. Nothingness. Dan Harris, there's nothingness at 8-4 for you, so put something in there, make a pick.
So I will say that I think Fabs played it very well. I like getting Goddard was a guy who I was thinking about taking, but I'm also not disappointed in the way my pick went because, again, this is what nobody behind me had a quarterback, and I'm just looking at the draft board so I could see that. So I figured at least one, maybe two would go. I'm not a fan of Joe Burrow this year for reasons I've discussed on this podcast. So I'm glad to have locked in Aaron Rodgers. And with my next pick, with Goddard off the board, I'm going to wait. I'm going to take Damian Harris, who I know is unexciting. And I know, Joe, there's a big debate over who's going to be the quarterback for the Patriots coming into this year between you and Yates. But regardless, the reports on Harris are very good out of camp. I think he's going to get a lot of run. If he can get some of the goal line work and maybe Cam doesn't steal everything, then he could really, really outperform this draft slot. So for me, Harris as my RB4, again, is a guy who I'm more than happy to take right here.
Yeah, unfortunately, one of the guys I was looking at went 2 picks before me. I was hoping to snag Will Fuller there. The 1-game suspension doesn't bother me all that much. Zach Moss goes, that's perfectly fine. So where do I go next? Well, it's time to get some depth on this roster. That's what I want to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is take some running back depth and take Ronald Jones. I'm going to hope that Yates is right and I'm wrong here about Leonard Fournette. And then the next thing is trying to get another wide receiver. Looking at the group here, not too thrilled, so I'm going to go with Mike Williams, who I think is a good value, especially in the half PPR format, a guy with a nose for the end zone, really good in the red zone area as well. Maybe he makes up for, again, the lack of volume with a little bit more touchdowns. But hey, playing with Justin Herbert, if he could just stay healthy, I know we say that all the time about Mike Williams every single year, if Mike Williams. But you know what? As my wide receiver 4, I think I can do worse. So I will live with that. After that, Corey Davis, Devontae Parker, who I wasn't touching, Michael Pittman, who I wasn't touching, Dan Harris, 9-9. What do you want to do? 9-9.
9-9. So I am looking for a wide receiver here. I have in mind what my next pick is going to be. For this one, I'm looking for a wide receiver here because I have the 4 running backs. I only have 3 wide receivers. I definitely need another one. And I'm looking at 2 guys. One of them is one of my favorites, who's a rookie, and I'm trying to get everywhere. Another guy is a guy who Fabs is probably familiar with from his team and is apparently playing out of the slot more this year, who I kind of like. I'm going to go with Waddle. I have, I like the Miami offense this year. You guys, well, Joe, you know how I feel about Myles Gaskin. So I'm going to go with the upside of Jalen Waddle and hope for a big return here as my wide receiver 4. I'm going to hit wide receiver depth a little bit more going forward after this next one. But for the most part, right now, Waddle is my 4. I'd like him more as my 5, but I'm okay with it at this moment.
One good looking series between Jalen Waddle and Tua is going to change the dynamic of both of their draft stocks very quickly. So let's hope we don't see that, and let's hope it just shows up week 1. Fabs, you're up next, 9-10.
And did you guys notice there's a top 10 quarterback that's still on the board that no one respects?
I respect him.
We like him.
He is not.
We like him.
Believe me, he's higher up on my board. Well done,
Ryan Tannehill. I mean, he's got maybe the best duo of wide receivers in the league, or at least top 5. Let's put it that way. Tampa Bay's probably got an argument there, as do the Cowboys. But Tannehill doesn't get any respect. He's like Rodney freaking Dangerfield, right? But he has been top 10 the last 2 years where he's been the starter in Tennessee, and now you give him Julio. Assuming Julio can actually get on the field and stay there, this is why I wait on quarterbacks. Like I just got a top 10 quarterback in the 9th round, and I feel great about it, and there's more to come.
More to come. What a teaser!
I'm not gonna take another one. A lot of times my strategy will be quarterback. So I'll go back to back. I'm gonna wait here just because there's so many good ones still on the board. I need to draft a wide receiver here, so I don't know that I want to draft Gallup because I've already got CD. I'm gonna go in a different direction here, and I'm gonna run Russell Gage because, I mean, last year in games without Julio, he was pretty damn productive. I mean, he wasn't elite by any stretch of the imagination, but getting him as a wide receiver 4 in an offense that's going to throw the ball a lot because they're not going to be good defensively. And as much as we all love Kyle Pitts, right? He's a rookie tight end. Typically, those guys don't put up great numbers. Kyle Pitts, guys, will have to put up the greatest rookie season of any tight end ever to be worth where he's being drafted, right? The best rookie tight end season ever was about 170 points, right? It was like Evan Ingram and Jeremy Shockey. He's going to have to do better than that. So
yeah, interesting. Both Giants there. Didn't even realize that. Kind of crazy there. But you mentioned Tannehill. I just wrote something on Fantasy Pros when we were talking about the great values that are out there on the board. Tannehill going as QB 12 in most drafts. It's just stunning to me. Like, I don't know how people let that happen. And you know what? You're right. And if you have an opportunity, I think, to take one of those elite guys because they fall. Like, for me, I took Kyler Murray because I think that's a league-winning guy. If I could put Kyler Murray and Christian McCaffrey on the same team together, I'm going to take my chances with that where I got him. But I was more than likely going to pass if it was anybody else but him and take a Ryan Tannehill like you just did late. I think it's a great strategy. Dan Harris, who did you select there in the 10th round?
I selected my poster child, Logan Thomas. I call him my spirit animal, mainly because I was all over him last year, and Yates and Tags just yelled at me all year. The way I looked at the board was there were 3 tight ends that I feel like are the quote-unquote still startable tight ends in a 12-team league, and they were Logan Thomas, Tyler Higbee, and Robert Tonyan. I don't have a huge difference between them, but everybody knows how much I generally love Logan Thomas. I loved him this year, so it's always a tiebreaker. And indeed, before I got to you, Joe, there were 4 guys, including me, who did not have a tight end, so I figured they would go before they got back to me. So Higbee and Tonyan have gone, and it's back to you, Joey.
And Tonyan I would have possibly taken there, but he went right before, so It's time to start getting some more wide receiver depth and start playing some matchups, just in case Robbie Anderson and Judy aren't as good as I think they are, but I think they are, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. But you know what? This is just where the value is, and this is another reason why I like to hit running back early and often get my guys there, because guys like Michael Gallup, guys like Mecole Hardman, interesting dart throws, and guys like the next one I'm going to take, Darnell Mooney, who I really like the talent. I want to see him with an actual real-life NFL quarterback, and I think I'm going to see that this year with, at the very least...
Has he been playing with dead quarterbacks in the past?
Did you watch the Bears last year, Fabs? Because I'm pretty sure they were. Pretty sure that's what I saw. All right. Alexander Madison, J.D. McKissick, James White, Dan Harris, you are up next, 11:09.
This is a mock draft of runs, man. I mean,
Seriously.
You look at this, right? It's like teams 2 through 8 have all just sort of, they're in cahoots or something because they always are going with these same things. They went Hines, Murray, Coleman, Penny, Madison, McKissick, and James White back to me. I was unprepared for that. I'm totally fine. I'm going to certainly. All right, so I'm going to take a guy who, look, he's not that high in our expert consensus ranking still. I have him a lot higher. I'm sure the Saints are going to sign somebody else, and who knows what their offense is going to look like. But for right now, it's really hard for me to avoid Traquan Smith given what his ADP is at this point. So he's a guy who I have much higher on my board than the expert consensus rankings. I have him, I think, in the top 40 at this point because I don't know where all those targets are going to go. So to get him here as my wide receiver 5, I'm more than happy with that.
Very nice. Wide receiver 5, it is there. Then you've got, after Traquan, Fabs is up with 11-10.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with Marv Jones, who
Marv. You guys are close. You guys play golf together?
No. I bet you I could beat him, though. So I took him as my 5th wide receiver. And since we're only going a few more rounds, I'm very unlikely to draft another quarterback. But I'm looking here at running back because I always want depth. I always want depth at wide receiver and running back. Those are the 2 positions where I don't want to leave myself shorthanded. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. The problem is there's not a whole lot to like at the running back.
This was crazy, Fabs. Like, really, in a 12-team league, the amount of running backs that were drafted, like, usually at this point, Fabs, we're in the 12th. You've got enough, though, where you can find someone that you're looking at and you're like, all right, I can take this guy's good depth. I'm looking at the remaining guys, and I'm like, none of these guys is even draftable at this point.
It's gross. It's definitely gross. I mean, there isn't much out there at this point. So maybe I will. How much time do I have left? Oh, 33 seconds.
33 seconds.
I have plenty of time. I'm going to consider this a little bit more. I see. At this point, I like taking like a young, guy like a Gainwell maybe. But there's so many mouths to feed in Philadelphia. So what I'll do here, you know what? I'm going to take Gainwell. He was on my show.
Yeah, good. I was going to say you better do that.
Fantasy Sports Radio. So I'll take him because what the hell.
See, that's exactly where I was. Like, he was on my queue. He was that last guy left. And I'm waiting for you. I was like, he's going to take Gainwell there. And then you hemmed and hawed, and then you finally did it. Why not? Why not do it, right? I mean, it's upside at this point. If it doesn't work out in a month, he's first guy off back into the waiver wire. But at least there's there's upside, there's potential role there for him in this offense. So tell me a little bit more about, again, why you eventually came around to Gainwell.
Upside, youth, and what was left, which, by the way, there was not much. I mean, at this point, there's very little upside. Somebody would have to get hurt. I mean, Sony Michel, I don't know if he's going to be on the Patriots. I don't know where he's going to be on the depth chart. I was thinking about him as well, but Damian Williams is going to be behind Montgomery. Cohen, we don't know when he's coming back. There's not a lot to like. Joshua Kelly was also a guy I was thinking about because the Chargers will, run another back along with Eckler, but that might be Justin Jackson. We're unsure, and Roundtree's also in the mix as well. So it was one of those dart throws that if it works out, great. If it doesn't, well, he goes to the waiver wire.
All right, Dan Harris, you are up next, my friend. Where are you going?
Yeah, I'm taking Mecole Hardman. We want upside at this point, and I mean, I am not joking. I've done like a million 12-team half PPR drafts in our simulator. I don't know if I've ever seen other teams go this running back heavy, which is why Fabs is talking about it. I also kind of like to pound running back this late, but it just feels like a wasted pick at this. If I'm looking at anybody who's available for me right now, and again, Sony Michel did just work. You're right. We don't even know if he's going to be on the roster by the time the season comes around. So I'm taking Hardman, who, again, we've all been waiting for, and Yates and I have talked a lot about Byron Pringle, but Hardman, looks fine in camp, and it could be the year for him. So at this point, give me the upside, especially given the fact that you've got 3 wide receivers and a flex. If he breaks out, he could be a locked-in starter for me all year long. So I'll go with that.
You want a stat that's going to disappoint you when it comes to Hardman?
No. Why would I want that? I just drafted him. But go ahead and give it anyway.
I mean, I actually, he would have been someone that would have been on my queue as well. But I believe the stat is in Kansas City, no wide receiver other than Tyreek Hill has ever finished in the top 50. I think Sammy Watkins was like 50 or 51 one year, and that was it. So that is a disappointing stat. They just funnel the ball to Kelsey and Hill so much. But at this point in the draft, Hardman has at least got some upside, and he's got Patrick Mahomes. So well worth the spot here. It's almost a free pick.
He's at least got some upside is sort of what my motto is at this point in the draft. So I will definitely take that. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, stay with the panic. Embrace the panic. That's what you want to do at all times. For me, I finally needed a tight end. Everybody knows that I'm going to wait as long as I possibly can. And while these are my last 2 picks, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. Jonnu Smith is my tight end. There you go. And I'm going to go ahead and take Sterling Shepard there, who I think is a very good value as well. I don't love a lot of the matchups that Kenny Golladay is going to have to face early on in the season. The injuries are already kind of piling up there as well. I know Shepard's an injury risk himself with the concussions and whatnot, but you know what? It's a value there. There's a couple other guys, wide receiver-wise, like Jacoby Myers, like Crowder, you could also look at. My boy also, who actually I believe just went there, John Brown and Gabriel Davis. Those are the kind of wide receivers that kind of exist in this range. So here we are, closing up shop in the 13th round. Dan Harris, who's your last pick?
I don't like anybody. So there we go. I've got that going for me right now. I am just looking to see. Yeah, see, I would have been fine with Jalen Reagor, but the reports are just so terrible about the guy during camp. So instead, look, Logan Thomas is not an absolute guaranteed at tight end, even though I think he is. So I'll just take a backup there. I'll go with Mike Gesicki, who just returned, I think, today from the COVID-19 list. Not a ton of upside, but just to give me another body there. And again, we are looking at a board that is drained of value at this point. So I'll just take that as somebody who could fill in if I need him to.
What happened, Fabs? Where did all the value go? What's going on here? I guess this draft wizard is just too good. I guess so.
There's still some good tight ends and quarterbacks out there.
Yeah.
Look at all the damn quarterbacks out. I mean, there's a lot of good ones. So I'm going to do something stupid.
Awesome.
Because it's a mock. What the hell do I care? Right? I'm gonna take Deshaun Watson because why not? It's the 13th round. Who cares if he's not gonna play? Well, then I'll cut him. But in the 13th round, and with the quarterbacks who, if we're suggesting that this is going to be like a 16 round draft, so we would have 3 rounds left over that we wouldn't pick.
Right.
Did you see how many good quarterbacks were still on the board? Like, I'll be able to pick somebody up.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm like, hell, I don't care. I'll take Deshaun Watson. Why not?
I'm all for it. It's a lottery pick. You can cash in, and we'll see how the draft wizard feels about it. The grades are in. So we took our test. I got an A, and it's because I'm drafting from the 1. I mean, if you're drafting from the 1 spot and you don't get an A, you need to seriously reevaluate your lifestyle. That's what I'm saying. Like, you got to really go back and say, where did I go wrong? So I got 96 out of 100, which is a nice change of pace. Usually I get a C minus. B plus is like the biggest push that I tend to get. Dan Harris, how'd you do on the Draft Wizard grade?
I got a B, 84 out of 100. But the good thing is we've done some updates to our mock draft scoring that we are allowed to do. And you can look at the various specific experts who do or do not like your draft. And I will say that Dan Harris, expert Dan Harris, gave me an A, 93 out of 100. So that's the guy who I really care about. But my official ECR grade is, in fact, a B, 84 out of 100.
All right. Fabs, how about you? How'd you come out with on the report card?
Right about the same score I typically got in college, C plus. But I also don't believe in this kind of stuff. It's just for fun. Even if I got an A, I'm like, okay.
Well, we believe in getting our
My first
guys.
round pick goes down with an injury, or Najee Harris stinks. Guess what? It's way worse. You know what I mean? So, like, who knows?
Right. Well, I always say this is it's training to learn how to get your guys and where the value is on the board and what the trends are. And obviously, you know, every one of these is different, and that's always great. And they are super competitive. But Dan, you kind of nailed it. There were a lot of runs going on here, so to speak, when you're looking at what was going on. Dan, why don't you take us through your team first and tell us what you think about it now that you've had a little bit more time to think about it. I mean, obviously, Dan Harris bot likes it, but what about real Dan Harris? That's what I want to know.
I think Dan Harris is, fine with it. I don't, not crazy. Aaron Rodgers is my quarterback, so I feel fine there. Chubb and Carson are my 2 starting running backs. My 3 wide receivers are Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, and Odell Beckham Jr. My tight end is Logan Thomas, with my flex as Mike Davis. My bench, Damian Harris, Mike Gesicki, Jalen Waddle, Mecole Hardman, and Traquan Smith. The bench is not my favorite. I'm not going to lie about that. But again, this was something, and this is why I do, I love the simulator and why doing a ton of mock drafts is great, because no mock draft is the same. I've never seen it where you had these monstrous runs of 7 running backs in a row or something like that right before I'm like, oh, you know what I want to do right now? I want to take a backup running back to sort of get me there. So it's an okay team. I think I'm looking at steals and reaches and pick analysis and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, which is so cool.
Right. And what it says is, what if you drafted Tyler Boyd essentially instead of Aaron Rodgers and waited, to draft a QB later, your draft probably would have played out a lot better. And that's probably true. I mean, Rodgers was a little earlier than what I wanted to do. I wanted to see how it looked. But yeah, I think that's a spot in the future where maybe taking an Antonio Brown or something like that, or a Tyler Boyd, and waiting like Fabs did on QB and getting Tannehill later is probably the right way to go. So that's why I mock, just to see how it works. So it's an okay team, not the best team I've ever drafted, but I'd go to war with it.
All right. How about you here, Fabs? Birthday boy, when you look at the roster now, is this a roster you would go to war with?
I would have no choice because I just drafted it.
Well, good answer. Well done. All right, let's close things up here. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I got a top 10 quarterback in Tannehill late. Eckler and Harris, I love that duo. I love that backfield duo. And my 3rd running back is Kareem Hunt, who was the RB10 last year. And then I get Chase Edmonds, who should see a bigger role in the offense in Arizona. So feel pretty good about that. The flyer at the end, Gainwell. We'll see what happens there. Listen, I love CeeDee Lamb. I know Tyler Lockett's going to bring some inconsistency, but he will also likely be a top 12 wide receiver. So I could have 2 number ones based on how they perform at the end of the season. Lockett was, for all intents and purposes, a 1 based on points last season. Brandon Ayuk's got the upside. I do have some concerns about him because he put up that big 6-game stretch without Kittle and with minimal Debo. But as a wide receiver 3, I think that works. And then Marvin Jones was a very solid wide receiver last year. Russell Gage is going to have some more opportunities with Julio now in Tennessee at tight end. I wait and I get Dallas Goedert. I'll take him all day long. And with the Watson pick again, why not? There were probably at least half a dozen startable quarterbacks still on the board, and that's at least. So if Watson is suspended for the season or doesn't play football, I can just cut him after a couple of weeks, or maybe before the season even starts if some sort of news breaks about him being put on the commissioner's exempt list, etc.
Yeah, it's stunning to me, having just done the flex draft this weekend too, and I do a lot of super flex anyway, and a lot of the mocks I try to do here with the folks over on our Discord channel are super flex because people want to do them, and the difference too, that single quarterback league is really stunning. It's a really good pool of quarterbacks, about 16 or so deep. The problem is after that it gets a little tricky. After that, when you're in the super flex or even the 2QP league, if you're in a 10-team league that does that, it gets a little bit more complicated. But you're right, that there's a depth there this year, about 16 or so deep, that I'm fine with throwing Trevor Lawrence out there if I had to. I think there's a lot of upside there with him. By the way, all the redo as well, if you haven't seen it yet, the updated version of the Draft Wizard, some of these little bells and whistles that you have here, like the expert opinions, you can go click on here, the steals and reaches, the pick analysis stuff. It's fantastic. I mean, just a shout out to everybody who behind the scenes that, you hear me and Dan Harris all the time. You don't see everybody who really makes this place tick. And they've done such a phenomenal job here of updating the Draft Wizard for 2021 with some of these things and the analysis you could do. By the way, Dan Harris, I looked at my own expert opinion on my expert draft. I gave it an A+.
That's when you know you nailed it.
Boy, oh boy. I love me some me, in the words of T.O.
Which is great because, as everybody on Twitter has told us, you are the hardest grader of everyone.
Fabs, this is like an ongoing thing. People like Dan Harris will give it an A-, Tags will give it a B+, Joe Pisapia, F. I hate it. Or D-. Leave me. I'm like Joaquin Phoenix in Gladiator. I just give the thumbs down to every draft I see. And then there's people who are like trying to mine my rankings just to figure out how to beat the Joe Pisapia bot, which I love. It's a challenge. If you can get a good grade from all of us,
that's so cool. You have a bot. I mean,
that's right.
I mean, you gotta be a superstar to.
That's right, Fabs. The machines are rising up against. All right, so here's the Joe Pisapia team that got an A+ from Joe Pisapia, backed by Joe Pisapia, sponsored by Joe Pisapia. Kyler Murray as quarterback. Christian McCaffrey is my RB1. J.K. Dobbins is my 2. Then A.J. Brown, Robbie Anderson, Jerry Jeudy. Tight end, Jonnu Smith. Flex, Travis Etienne. Bench spots, I've only got the one RB there in Ronald Jones, but I did take Travis Etienne, so I got 4 running backs I like. I didn't want to waste picks on guys that I don't want Tevin Coleman on my team. I just don't. There's some guys I don't want him. I'm not going to do it. I don't want Gio Bernard on my team. I think it's a waste of a pick. I'd much rather have Mike Williams, Michael Gallup, Darnell Mooney, Sterling Shepard. These are guys, especially with that flex spot, that are going to see time in that lineup. And I feel good about if I had to start any of them or when I'm going to have to start any of them. So, Fabs, now that we had step away once again, I just want to thank you for, of all the days, taking an hour out of your time on your birthday to mock draft with us. Like I said, you're the gift that keeps on giving, even on your own birthday. Tell everybody again where they can listen to the shows, where they can read you, and where they can find you on the Twitter machine at Michael Fabiano, Michael Fabiano, pardon me.
Because Michael Fabiano, the real one, has at Michael Fabiano. He is an opera singer, by the way. He's been on my show. It was very weird. It was like a Twilight Zone. I was interviewing Fab.
That's funny.
It was strange. Good guy though, Yankee fan. And he's a Paisan, so you gotta love him.
There you go. We all stick together.
Exactly. Instagram at Michael_Fabiano_. There was already a Michael_Fabiano. Facebook, YouTube. That's it. I can't do anything else. I'm not doing TikTok. I'm not doing Face Snap or whatever the hell else I got. I can't do it. I got too much crap already. Michael Fabiano can be found on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. I just did a Karl Malone, by the way. Fantasy Dirt, Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, of course, is also going to be the home for the Alice in Chains Celebrity Draft, the Fabiano Invitational Celebrity Draft, which is going to be a lot of fun, and a whole lot of other drafts. So make sure you're tuning in to channel 87. We are no longer XM 210. XM 87 is now 87. That's it. One channel for you. 87. Thinking of some famous 87s. Reggie Wayne is the first guy that comes to mind for me. Also, of course, Sports Illustrated, si.com/fantasy. All my rankings, articles are all up over there. And I'm also going to be doing my radio show on Westwood One, the Fantasy Football Forecast, which will start, I believe, August 20th, 21st, somewhere in that area. Myself and Amber Theo Harris will be doing that. So I am everywhere. You would inevitably be sick of me if you aren't already by the end of the season. I know that you guys are both sick of me already. because I'm talking about all these things that I'm doing, and there wasn't enough Curb Your Enthusiasm discussion.
Sure, we came under the references.
Not enough Curb talk.
But we had like an old school Cheers reference, so I feel like that makes up for it.
That's like a
we
good
did.
20.
Well, no, we had that, and we had the Giddy Up. That was another one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We had a few.
By the way, Harris, did you get your invitation for the celebrity draft?
No.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know. I thought we were celebrities. I don't know what happened.
Not
there,
quite.
So.
All
right. Well,
listen, the three of us are celebrities in our own mind.
That's fair. I'll take it.
Anybody else get these fantasy dorks out of my face, please?
There you go. The fantasy dorks. Love it. All right, that'll do it for us. And make sure you go over and get your practice reps in. Use that Draft Wizard. Go to fantasypros.com/draftwizard. Today, tomorrow, every day this week, I'm going to be running mock drafts on our channel. Go to fantasypros.com/chat. Join Discord. And a bunch of people are using that little fun offer thing for $10. You can go over there. And one of our, little partner sites that we like to play fantasy with, put $10 into one of them, and you get that upgraded Fantasy Pros membership, a $65 value, and you get access to all the AMA channels with me, with Tags, with Dan Harris, with Kyle Yates. All of us are in there, and we do a lot of stages where you get to come on and chat with us, and of course, mock with us as well in the mock draft channel. So get in there if you want to get your reps. Yesterday, I put a mock out there. It filled in 20 seconds. It was wild.
Yep.
Again, so we're going to be doing a lot more.
Well, everyone wants to draft with Piece of Pia. That's why.
Right. That's right, because they want to know, why do you fail me every time I try to make a good draft? What is it about you that you hate my teams? Also, make sure you mark your calendars, August 19th, the youtube.com/fantasypros Fantasy Football Fest. It's going to be a festival of friendship. It's going to be a beautiful thing, and we're going to be doing a whole lot of talk. Big-time guests. We're going to do drafts there. We're going to do breakdowns. We're going to play games. It's going to be great. 12 hours, 10 a.m. to 10 a.m., 10 p.m. What am I saying? 10 a.m. to 10 a.m.
10 a.m. to 10 a.m. That's not much time, Pisa.
It's not much time. Not much time. Not much time. That's going to be a very quick show. 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. That's the show. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and also click that notifications button. That way you know when everything is going on here. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Dan Harris and Michael Fabiano, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out our featured videos. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Fantasy Pros, so you can get the latest news and updates to give you the edge you need in your fantasy league.